It's a drug that's cheap and easy to find. Heroin use in the Chicago area at record high.
Yeah, WGN's Dan Ponce reports on the alarming increase in heroin overdoses, especially in the western suburbs. That's in tonight's cover story.
Good evening. Heroin use is up all over the United States, but it's especially bad here in Illinois. It often starts with addiction to painkillers. Some of the most grave statistics come from DuPage County, where heroin is tearing apart even some of the most affluent families.
Louis Miceli had a privileged upbringing in west suburban Medina. He was smart, good-looking, played varsity football at Driscoll Catholic High School, and was deeply loved by his huge Italian family. About 2.5 years ago, one of his family members was prescribed painkillers after suffering a sports injury. Louis started taking the pills too for fun, and pretty soon he was hooked. When he no longer had access to painkillers, he moved on to heroin. His family put him in rehab for the entire summer of 2012, but only 1 month after he got home, last August 4th, he relapsed.
We were out for dinner for the evening and we got the worst phone call that anyone could ever get to come home. I came home and there was police and ambulances, and they wouldn't let me in my own home, and I collapsed.
One relapse, one time. That's all it took, and Louis Miceli was dead at the age of 24.
He was gone and there was nothing I could do about it. So it's a phone call a mother never wants to get. Never.
Painkillers to heroin. It's a progression that's becoming all too common throughout the Chicago area, especially in DuPage County.
It hooks you. It steals your soul and it makes you somebody who you're not. All your morals, your dignity, your integrity, everything that you've been raised with is gone. It literally steals your soul.
Nick Gore is a recovering heroin addict from Bartlett.
I really shouldn't be here the lifestyle I lived.
He now speaks to high school students about the dangers of heroin, a drug that is cheap and available just about everywhere. A $10 bag can keep someone high for a day or two, and addicts no longer have to drive down I-290, the so-called heroin highway, to get to the west side of Chicago to buy it. Drug dealers will deliver heroin right to your front door, and they're often not the type of people you might expect.
My first drug dealer was a beautiful suburban Italian girl for heroin. That was my first drug dealer.
The numbers in DuPage County speak for themselves. The most grim statistics can be found here with the DuPage County Coroner.
It's been astounding, especially the last 2 or 3 years.
Chief Deputy Coroner Charlie Dastych says the number of heroin deaths really started to jump up about 6 years ago. From 2007 to 2011, there was an average of 26 deaths a year. In 2012, there were 43 heroin deaths, and so far in 2013, up until last week, there have been 42 deaths. That's an average of about 1 heroin death every 8 days in DuPage County alone. The victims range in age from as young as 15 to 66. Since 2007, 87% of the victims are white males. At Hazelden, the world-renowned addiction treatment center, the number of people being treated for painkillers and heroin addiction is now second only to alcoholism. Most are young adults.
The last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a significant increase in our emerging adult population.
At Hazelden Chicago, the clinical director, David Cohen, is himself a recovering heroin addict.
Honesty is probably the best fuel for recovery, and that's from an addict's perspective as well as a family member's. Denial is often, shelters the addict as well as the family.
An important side note about treatment, under the Affordable Care Act, outpatient addiction treatment will be covered. Hazelden President and CEO Mark Miceli.
And for the first time, there will be universal coverage for outpatient addiction treatment services. So many more people, millions of more people that today don't have any insurance coverage or have very poor insurance coverage are going to have excellent insurance coverage for outpatient addiction treatment, and that's a good thing.
To get someone into treatment, Cohen says friends and family members, especially parents, often need to make the first move.
If you are concerned, then there's probably a real issue there, and you don't have to do this alone. Use Hazelden Chicago as a resource. Pick up the phone and call me.
Before it's too late, as Felicia Miceli would argue, heroin killed her son. Now she's hoping his story will help save others.
I don't want anyone else to ever have to feel this and walk around with this pain and a broken heart.
The Miceli family started a program to educate families about heroin. It's called the LTM Heroin Awareness and Support Foundation. You'll find a link and a link to Hazelden Chicago on our website at WGNTV.com. I'm Dan Ponce, WGN News.
All right, thank you, Dan.